Welcome to This Too Is Love, On the Other Side of Pain, a podcast for anyone navigating a tangled terrain of family, grief, and that strange thing called forgiveness. I'm Genevieve Kim, writer, performer, and someone who's still zigzagging my way through life. Each week I read a story, sometimes from my book Yes to It All, sometimes something newer, and then I talk about it, why I wrote it, what's changed. Some episodes are solo, some have guests, but every one is an attempt to look at what it means to choose love again, even after disappointment or death. This isn't self-help, no 5-step plans here, because this podcast isn't about moving on. It's about staying present with humor, with heart, and with whatever shows up when the curtains close. If you're here, you're right on time. Let's begin. Welcome back to This Too Is Love. In today's episode, I will be reading the second chapter of my book, Yes to It All. The chapter is called I Hear You, which is a bit ironic considering how long I spent pretending I didn't. It starts with an opera audition, and by audition, I mean a public meltdown in front of the San Diego opera director who, to his credit, wasted no time in asking me to leave mid-aria. Spoiler, I did not get the role. But I did get a one-way ticket to a life identity crisis. What follows is a scenic detour through self-destruction, emotional muteness, and wildly misguided attempt to fix everything with a finance degree. Because when in doubt, go corporate. Anyway, this is a chapter where I start to claw my voice back, slowly and slightly off key. Here's the chapter. Chapter 2, I Hear You. The San Diego Opera audition would be my first after the divorce. Less than a year prior, just 7 months into my marriage, I found myself packing as quickly as possible so I could leave my ex-husband while he was at work. There were many red flags before getting married, but I stayed until the relationship crushed nearly all the spirit out of me. During our 3 years together, I experimented with self-destructive behaviors, including cutting and hitting myself, and I had my first major depressive episode. One morning while looking in the mirror, I couldn't recognize the ghost that stood before me. I had to get out. 9 months later, I received an invitation to audition with the San Diego Opera. It took me by surprise, given the audition demo I submitted was subpar by my standards. My confidence hung by a thread after the divorce. Yet I felt a tinge of hope that perhaps this audition would lead to the fresh start I needed. Halfway through my audition, however, the director stopped me and without explanation asked me to leave. In less than a song, my hopes of performing on stage evaporated. I blamed myself for the disaster of an audition. If only I had never met my husband, I thought, I would never have lost my focus on music. As I left the audition, I resolved never to sing again. I spent the next several years of my life getting a real career. I graduated from Duke University with an MBA concentration in finance. Before graduating, I already had secured a job at one of the most competitive management consulting firms. On paper, my life looked put together, but underneath the gold veneer, my self-destructive behaviors worsened. Eating disorders, drugs, and more toxic relationships suffocated me. Cycles of anxiety and depressive episodes intensified. Apathy sucked me dry and left me wondering whether I should keep living or not. I had become all but mute. During my second year of grad school, the school psychologist asked me, "Is there anything that you do enjoy?" "Photography," I said. "Then just photograph," he said. Just photograph?" "Yep, just photograph." That was all the permission I needed to loosen my grip on self-punishment. The following term, I headed to Italy for a semester study exchange. And when I got there, my camera and I became inseparable. We savored more than pasta and wine together. We soaked up as much design, literature, art, etc., as possible. On one of our long walks around the city, my camera led me to a side of town I had not yet explored. Across the street, I noticed a photogenic building and curiously walked toward it. We were in front of La Scala Opera. Though I had no intention of becoming a professional musician, something told me to start singing again. That evening, I messaged an old friend who used to study voice in Italy and asked if she knew of any teachers in Milan. She responded yes and connected me with a teacher of hers. A few weeks later, I started taking voice lessons again. After our first lesson, my voice coach asked, "Why did you ever stop singing? You have a beautiful voice." I suppose it was my way of punishing myself, but I'm done with that now. Upon returning to the States, I signed up for my grad school's annual talent show. This was my first time on stage since the disastrous audition 7 years prior. My voice roared throughout the auditorium. Even when the music ended, I kept singing. The audience went wild, standing ovation. My punishment was over. They heard me. I heard me. I have a voice, and I'm going to learn how to use it again no matter how long it takes. And here is a photo of me. I took myself out on a date, which I think everybody should do. I took myself out on a date to La Scala. Yeah. Ooh, so that chapter. Yes, I really did quit singing because of one audition. And yes, I really did get an MBA degree instead, because what better way to bury your dreams than under a pile of spreadsheets, decks, and, emotional constipation. I stopped singing because it hurt, because I was already gutted from a marriage that nearly flattened me. And standing on stage, opening my mouth and hearing nothing worth applauding, it confirmed what I already suspected. I was broken. So I did what any overachieving, emotionally repressed woman might do. I got very good at things that had nothing to do with my heart. And the truth is, no one noticed I was gone, because I looked amazing on paper. But paper cuts, as we know, are tiny and persistent. And after enough of them, you stop bleeding. You just go numb. That's why I wrote this chapter, because I needed to document what it feels like to slowly, quietly disappear from yourself and then somehow start clawing your way back. And let me tell you, the road back to your voice is not glamorous. It involves crying in stairwells, voice lessons that feel like therapy, and the occasional existential crisis while holding a microphone. But here's the thing. A voice isn't just something you have. It's something you claim. It's something you have to choose again and again, even when your hands are shaking, even when no one claps, especially then. And I know I'm not alone in this. We all mute ourselves in different ways. We shrink in meetings, or we apologize for things that weren't our fault. We date people who like us better when we're quiet. So if you're listening and your voice feels like it's buried somewhere under years of performance reviews, shitty responses, or family dinner table politics, I want to ask, what's the sound you've been swallowing? And what would happen if you let even one note out? It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be loud, but it has to be yours. Especially the part where you finally stop editing yourself mid-sentence. This too is love. If this episode moved something in you, drop me a comment or a message. I'd love to hear from you. And if you know someone who's walking through something, share this with them. Sometimes the right story is the best medicine. If you're curious about voice work or finding your own way back to expression, check the link in the show notes to connect with me.